Now, if we use 95%, for example, this whole non-rejection region is equivalent to 95%. Therefore, mahahati yung ating level, no? Yung alpha natin. This will be 2.5% na lang or 0.025. Same sa kabila. This will be 0.025. So, basically, ganyan po ang nangyayari ang tailed test in the hypothesis testing. So, wag kakalimutan, no? Ngayon yung pinakamadaling paliwanag. Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you are all well and doing great. So for this presentation, we will going to discuss all about the hypothesis testing, one population only, and this is just an introduction. Okay, so let's start our discussion. Hypothesis testing, one population. First of all, what is hypothesis testing? Actually, hypothesis testing was introduced by Sir Ronald Fisher, Jesse Newman, and Carl Pearson, and of course, Egon Pearson, the Carl Pearson's son. Actually, hypothesis testing is a statistical method that is used when making statistical decisions used in experimental data. So, hypothesis testing is basically an assumption that we make about a population parameter. Take note sa term assumption. No, assumption that we make about the population. Kaya siya under ng inferential statistics because we are trying to draw some conclusion from the data. We are trying to have some inference from the given set of data. So basically, we have three methods used in hypothesis testing. First one is the traditional method. The second one is the p-value method, which is actually famous right now because of the progress of the use of different statistical softwares. And lastly, we have the hypothesis testing using the confidence interval method. This is the reason why we started with the confidence interval topic on our subject, statistical analysis 2. Okay, so next, we actually have different types of statistical hypotheses. And those are null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So basically, null hypothesis is symbolized by H sub 0, which is a statistical hypothesis testing that assumes that the observations is due to a chance factor. So kapag null hypothesis, lagi siyang may equal. No, tandaan niyo to, huwag niyo kakalimutan. I will write here. Again, kapag null hypothesis, lagi siyang may equal. So, meaning to say, it's either may equal siya, or greater than, or equals. Oops. Sorry for the pen. Greater than or equals, or less than or equals. That is the symbols that we are using in null hypothesis. Okay, for alternative hypothesis, this actually symbolized by H sub 1, wherein this alternative hypothesis is the opposite of the null hypothesis. Therefore, it shows that observations are the result of a real effect. Okay, with regards to this symbol, the most common symbols that we are using when declaring an alternative hypothesis are not equal, greater than, or less than. So as you can see, there's no equals here. So lahat ng equal nasa null hypothesis and lahat ng walang equal na symbols are nasa alternative hypothesis. That is just the basic difference, no, of these two. Now, we also have these different other terms that we may encounter in the study of the hypothesis testing. For the first one, we have the level of significance, or sometimes this is called the significance level, and also tinatawag din siya na alpha level. No, pare-pareho lang yun. Now, this refers to the degree of significance in which we accept or we reject the null hypothesis. For example, you rejected the null hypothesis at what level of significance? no, gaano ka-significant yung pag-reject mo or yung hindi mo pag-reject sa null hypothesis. It can be around 0.1, 0.05, 0.025, something like that. Those are the most common na level of significance that we are using. In medicine, as far as I know, 0.05 up to 0.025, no? Napakaliit ng kanilang level of significance. And papag-usapan natin kung bakit. Iba-iba yan actually yung ginagamit na alpha level or significance level in every field. Iba sa education, iba sa mga social sciences like sa psychology, sa sociology, iba sa engineering, iba sa medicine. In every field, iba-iba yung ginagamit. May mga magkakapareho pero I will tell you sa mga susunod na presentation kung paano malalaman yung recommended na level of significance for each different field. Okay? Now, another term that we should know in this study of hypothesis testing is the critical value. So, critical value basically means a value that separates the critical region from the non-critical region. So, the critical value, basically, border siya na naghahati sa critical region and sa non-critical region. Ano ba tong critical region na to? So, critical region, also known as rejection region. So, doon pa lang, alam mo na, critical region, kapag pumatak dito yung value na na-compute natin, either Z computed or T computed, basically, we should now reject the null hypothesis. Hindi ko pa binabasa yung definition niya, pero I can now explain dahil sa other term na ginagamit natin for that critical region, which is rejection region. So, by definition, it is the range of the values of the test value that indicates that there is significant difference and that the null hypothesis should be rejected if nandoon tayo sa sa region na yon, which is again rejection or also called as critical region. Now, let's proceed. Ano naman tong non-critical region? So, basically, kabaliktaran siya ng critical region. So, non-critical region, also known as non-rejection region, this is the range of the values of the test value that indicates that the difference was not, or rather was probably due to chance and that the null hypothesis should not be rejected. So, this is the case na kapag pumatak dito sa non-rejection region or sa non-critical region, yung ating computed value, this is now the conclusion na ilalagay natin that the null hypothesis is actually failed to reject. No, not rejected siya. Therefore, accepted. But, no, I will burst the bubble na nakagawian na marami, no? Accept the null hypothesis. We should accept. There's no such thing as acceptance ng null hypothesis. No, we don't accept null hypothesis. That's why, ang mga nilalagay natin sa conclusion is, we fail to reject null hypothesis. That is the right term. No, fail to reject null hypothesis. We shouldn't accept null hypothesis. So, acceptance of null hypothesis is statistically, hindi siya ganun ka okay gamitin. No? And ipapaliwanag ko yan sa mga susunod na presentation natin kung bakit and paano kapag meron na tayong example, because this is just an introduction, okay? So, next we have this different type of test, the one-tailed test and the two-tailed test. For the one-tailed test, this shows that the null hypothesis be rejected when test value is in critical region on one side of the mean. It may be either right-tailed test or left-tailed test. Again, kapag sinabing one-tailed test, dalawa lang yan, either right-tailed test, yung buntot ng normal distribution sa kanan, yung tinetest natin, nandoon yung critical region, or sa left-tailed test, na sa kaliwa naman ang ating critical region. Now, paano malalaman na we are using one-tailed test or we should now use two-tailed test? So, basically, ako personally, na mas madali siya tandaan if ever na ang ating null hypothesis, H sub O, is, or disregard this, wait lang, I will delete this equal sign. I should not have equal sign here. Okay. Malalaman natin na ang test na gagamitin natin is one-tailed test if ever na ang ating null hypothesis or the H sub O is less than or greater than. No? Or equals yan. Equals. Ayan. Hindi siya totally equal. Kapag naman H sub 1 natin, alternative, is less than, tapos greater than. So, basically, ito, kapag ganito, one-tailed test yan. Ito, again, one-tailed test po yan. And kapag two-tailed test, our HO should be equals. Ayan. And our H1 should be not equals. Two-tailed test kapag ganyan. Now, huwag niyong kakalimutan. Makakatulong ito sa mga susunod na topic hanggang dumating tayo sa last topic ng Statistical Analysis 2. Hanggang ANOVA, hanggang Correlation and Regression, magagamit ko yan. Okay? Now, we have the common phrases in hypothesis testing. Actually, there's a lot of students na hindi nila talaga nakukuha kung paano ba i-turn yung worded problem into mathematical sentence. So, ito yung mga ibang techniques, mga hints kung paano nyo malalaman na kapag ito yung term na ginamit sa isang worded problem, the symbol should be this. No, kapag ganito naman, ito dapat yung symbol. So, basically, equal sign. Kapag equal sign, ang mga common phrases dyan sa hypothesis testing, makikita ito bandang dulo. No? Ano siya, more likely kasama siya sa last two sentences ng problem. So, equal sign kapag is equal to, is the same as, is exactly the same as. So, equal sign yun. Kapag greater than, the phrases that we are using in the problem, worded problem, are is increased, is greater than, or is higher than. So, kapag naman greater than or equals, guys, this is actually greater than or equals. Ayan. Kapag kasi may mga keyboard, especially sa Google Form, so hindi naman lahat available sa inyo yung ganitong character, no, yung iba naka-phone, yung iba naka-laptop, you can write the greater than like this, no, greater than or equals. Instead of this, you can write this. Same lang po yan. So, gagamitin yan if ever na you see some phrase in hypothesis testing like is at least, is not less than, is greater than, or equal to. Okay? For is not equal, not equals, same with the last one. Ito talaga yung totoong niyang sign, pero you can use this. Or, sa programming, no, more likely ito ang gamit, exclamation point, then equal sign. So, this actually denotes a not equal. If pwede nyo itong gamitin, no? Kapag sa ating quiz, naglagay ako ng ganitong answer key, pwede yan. Pwede rin ito. So, kahit saan sa inyo. Now, ang not equals is ang mga common phrases dyan for the hypothesis testing. Again, bandang dulo are is not equal to, is not the same. Ano yan, is not the same as. A is not the same as B, something like that. So, that is actually not equals. And the last one we have is different from. So, the A is different from B. Now, the population A is different from population B, not equals. Okay, so don't forget this. Makakatulong po itong mga phrases na ito if we are on the problem solving na. Okay, next. Less than. So, less than symbol is used for the phrases is decreased, is less than, or is lower than. So, less than or equals. So, same with greater than or equals. Ito yung totoo niyan. Ayan. Is at most, is not more than, or is less than, or equal to. I hope you get it. Now, let's have the visualization ng lahat ng mga nabanggit ko doon. So, if ever na we are dealing with right-tailed test, so again, this right-tailed test is one-tailed. Okay, so one-tailed test yan. Assuming this is the center, 0. So, standard normal distribution tayo. If this is right-tailed test, tail, buntot. So, ito yung buntot ng distribution. this is the Z value or ito yung tinatawag na critical value. No? Again, when we say critical value, this is the value that separates the rejection region from non-rejection region. So, nasaan ang rejection region? Actually, this is what we call the rejection region. Ayan, this region. Ayan. This is rejection region. And since ito yung rejection region natin, meaning to say, yung kabila, from this point, let's have this. Up to this point, these are all non-rejection region. Sorry sa sulat, no? Ganyan na talaga yan. Hindi na nag-improve. Ayan, non-rejection region. Okay? Now, critical value, rejection region, non-rejection region. For example, we used an alpha of 0.05, meaning to say, the value of this tail is 0.05. This is now our alpha. Okay, 0.05. Now, next, we have the left-tailed test. So, the other way around with the right-tailed test, basically, this is again under the one-tailed test. As you can see, why one-tailed? Kasi isa lang yung buntot. No? Sa kanan, ito lang eh. Dito lang. Wala naman tayo nilagay sa kabila. Kasi nga, right-tailed test lang siya. Isa lang. No? Sa kaliwa, ganun din. Dito tayo maglalagay. And ito is 0. So, standard normal distribution. Let's have this. Okay. So, same with the right-tailed test. This is our Z value. Okay. Or, again, the critical value that separates the rejection region and the non-rejection region. So, basically, this is the rejection region. And this is now the non-rejection region. So, from this point, from this vertical level, vertical point, going to the right, that is non-rejection region. So, assuming this test is, ang significance level niya is 0.05. So, this whole rejection region, this whole tail, nitong distribution na to is 0.05. I hope you get it. Now, I forgot to say, if ang ginamit natin is 0.05, meaning to say, yung kabuuan po nito, no, yung kabuuan niyan will be 0.95 or 95%. Same with this one. No, if this is 0.05, yung kabuuan niyan will be 0.95 or 95%. Okay, that is for the one-tailed test. Again, we have right-tailed test and left-tailed test. For two-tailed test, let's have this. We have the center as 0. So, we have the critical value here. We also have the critical value here. So, assuming the value of this is 1.96 positive, this is 1.96 negative naman. So, ayan lang. Kunyari yan, ayan yung value nila. So, this will be automatically with the rejection region. So, let's have here the rejection region. And, sa kabila naman, this will be now our rejection region. Okay? So, meaning to say, this whole area is what we call the non-rejection region. Okay? Now, if we use 95%, for example, this whole non-rejection region is equivalent to 95%. Therefore, mahahati yung ating level, no? Yung alpha natin. This will be 2.5% na lang or 0.025. Same sa kabila. This will be 0.025. So, basically, ganyan po ang nangyayari ang tailed test in the hypothesis testing. So, wag kakalimutan, no? Ayan yung pinakamadaling paliwanag, no? And let's have our error. May mga usual na pagkakamali tayo na nagaganap or na-encounter rather in solving a hypothesis testing type of problem. So, una dyan is we have the type 1 error. When we say type 1 error, this actually occurs if one rejects the null hypothesis when it is true. Tama yung null. Pero sa conclusion mo, sabi mo, reject. No, that is type 1 error. Type 2 error occurs if one does not reject the null hypothesis when it is false. Mali siya eh. Mali yung null. Kunyari, no, mali yung null. No, dapat dyan, i-reject. Pero yung ginawa mo sa conclusion, hindi mo siya ni-reject. Ang nalagay mo, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Parang in-accept mo pa. Type 2 error ang tawag doon. No, so this error sometimes omitted if meron tayong mga lalaktawan, mga hindi napapansin during our solution. That is why we should need to have our solution na step-by-step dapat siya para wala kayong makakaligtaan. Anyway, in our presentation, I will try my best to make every problem explained very well, mas madaling maintindihan, napaka-basic ng pagkaka-explain. And of course, yun nga, step-by-step and very detailed as much as I can. Okay? So, I think that ends up our presentation regarding the introduction for the hypothesis testing 1 population. By the way, we have 1 population, we also have 2 populations. So, nasa 1 population pa lang po tayo and nasa bungad pa lang tayo, introduction. For our next presentation, we will going to have our discussion regarding 1 sample z-test. So, make an advanced study regarding it. Okay, so I hope you learned something from this presentation, everyone. And I'm hoping that you are all safe and doing well. See you again on our next discussion. Thank you. Bye-bye.